Welcome back to Lenz Comic Corner, Classic Lesson Non-Classics. This is episode number 3174, Doubleshot number, I believe it's 3068. First up, reviewing a 2-volume crossover thing. Doesn't contain the whole entire thing, just basically some of the portions of this thing. First we have The Infinity Crusade. Yep. A storyline that, if you talk about 90s sci-fi crossovers, people talk about Infinity Gauntlet. How really awesome that was. Infinity War, still good. This one, it's like this one, I think Marvel was embarrassed by this crossover. This took up a small portion of comics. And plus also, there's nothing much to do with Adam Warlock at all. Not really. I mean, he's here, but it seems like he does more in the tie-ins. So this trade here has contained issues all written by Jim Starlin, art by Rob Lim, Tom Rooney, Anthony, and Tom Greenberg. Front cover of this book. Cover of the main issues is Rob Lim. Cover of the main book is Tom Smith, and the back cover is it says back cover colors. That's done by so not worry about that. So this book contains the first 3 issues of the Infinity Crusade, Warlock Chronicles 1 through 3, and Warlock Infinity Watch number 1819, which pretty much basically the whole thing with this one is that with these issues is that the tie-ins are basically just filling in gaps between the main storyline for the Infinity Crusade. The Crusade itself was able to put basically Adam Warlock's former wife, who used to was her, where she is kind of brainwashing superheroes to work with her. And the first issue was Let There Be Light. And yes, Linkard did do a review of the main story for Event Comics Month. Yes, this was the last of the original Infinity Trilogy. First it was Infinity Gauntlet, and Infinity War, and Infinity Crusade. There was Infinity Abyss released in the 2000s, but that's basically just a loose mini-series. It wasn't a major cross like this was. Yes. So the big thing with this one is basically all about exploring religion. That's kind of... Now, probably the reason why this book is not, let's say, as talked about as the other two, because of the fact that it doesn't feel as much excitement as the main one. So we have Warlock in the window. We see members of Infinity Watch. At one point we see Moondragon fire a black beam out of her mouth and aim it toward Pip the Troll for some weird reason. And we see a new member of the team, Maxim, who debuted in the main book. Yeah, where they're basically just training. We see Adam Warlock in his room. Look at the viewing globe. We see meditating, and we see Eternity. And then we have the Goddess. Yeah, it's just an aspect of Adam Warlock and Steel Force. We see various superheroes. We see various take form of various religions like Christianity, Judaism, a cup, trident. Yep. So we see Living Lightning out of the West Coast, Sasquatch of Alpha Flight, Black Knight of Stan Waltman, Number T of New Warriors, Hercules, Storm. I believe by looking at her hair, I think that's Cersei. So basically, she's brainwashed people. This was watching, she doesn't do anything. She forms an armor, and then we see this purple hand trying to wake up Adam Warlock, who it is. They find out later. And then we see Storm and Wolverine basically at the Xavier Institute, where Storm is taken away. By the way, Storm here is wearing her Jim Lee drawn costume, which is an outfit that popped up in the X-92 cartoon. It's a costume that a lot of fans really love this costume really much. It is probably by far her most popular costume of all of her costumes. The only costumes close is the costumes that Chris Claremont, basically his artists, give her. But Wolverine, of course, is in his John Byrne attire, his first one. And everybody here is wearing their Jim Lee costume. Well, Jean Grey is. Archangel is not. Nope. That was designed by the artist X Factor. And then we see here, you see guys meeting up with Sue Storm, the one she's wearing that Ford that's exposing her chest. Yes. After creating various heroes, including frickin' Sleepwalker. Yes. And after creating all these heroes, they all basically join her, including two members of New Warriors. And, like, they know something happening. Warlock missing Hulk is basically intelligence. The Thing is wearing a helmet because of happening. I think this was due to Wolverine slicing his face up. And then we see them on this. And then we see the Avengers Mansion, the 90s version of it. Yeah, before this thing was destroyed by the Gatherers. Oh, and by the way, the police tried to arrest the Avengers for causing property damage, despite the fact it was put in the Avengers. We didn't do this. It was caused by somebody else. Eventually, the mansion was rebuilt, and then was basically, I think it was from an alternate universe, from what I've read, and the one that was seen and disassembled, that was the new mansion. That was actually the third building that had been there. Because this big building that we see here in this book, that was replacement for the original mansion. That was destroyed in the I think it was the late set. It was during the Under Siege storyline, which is considered one of the high point in Masters of Evil. So the guy proceeds to remake a whole moon to her base, and we see Spider-Man here with this big citadel. Place called Paradise Omega, and then move on to the Warlock Chronicles, where we see. Okay, so the purple hand belongs to a guy called Dark Lord. Yeah, it's kind of weird, though. We have basically followed this up in the Warlock Chronicles, which all this is a solo side piece of Warlock. That's why, like, he was having the Warlock Friendly Watch published the same period of time. This is mostly a side series that was basically, it's like basically Infinity Crusade, Warlock Friendly Watch, and this book all were connected in this multi-epic story. Yes, and then move on to issue 18, which discussed already in other stuff. I think it discusses with the Infinity Watch issues. Want to discuss Warlock Chronicles. And we want to issue 2, where basically it's like Storm was like, crush the infidels. And like, you have this guys, this big base. Everyone's chatting with each other. We see great on monitor with Storm. Everybody's basically just gathered around. We see Silver Surfer here. And the other heroes basically want their people back. And it's all like, and Reaver's like, knock it off. After he gets attention, of course, they all work together. Pip comes in, who's wearing a new costume, mentions a thing called the Cosmic Egg. And, well, then she goes inside the Cosmic Egg to get evolving. How about the Holy Crusade? Me. Then we have Silver Surfer and Firelord work together with this. We have this little orbiting spear, like it's one of the Borg drones, Borg spears from First Contact. I wouldn't be surprised if Rob Lamb took inspiration from that particular thing, because I think that movie came out around the same time as this book, so he probably took inspiration from that. And I highly doubt that Paramount was going to sue Marvel Comics over the fact a freaking spear looks similar to Borg Cube. I don't think they give a damn, because it wasn't on the radar. Yep. So then, of course, the Watcher gets involved here, because of course he is. Of course, he's basically witnessing all this. And then we're leading to Warlock Chronicles number 2, and eventually Warlock Infinity Watch number 19, which comes right after this. Yeah, which, like I said, it's basically that they're just gap fillers. Exactly what happens in the main book. They just fill in the gap between the main story. That's probably the reason why they're included in this trade here, because they are pretty much basically filling the gap between issues, and that's kind of the purpose of Warlock Chronicles for the start of the book, and then afterwards became part of a crossover with Blood and Thunder, which ended this book. I think this book was a limited series at first, and we had this weird dragon creature who doesn't really do anything at all. And of course, I wonder who the goddess is. She's actually Warlock's real wife. And then we see where the Starjammers basically get involved with this stuff. Yes. And at one point we see Vindicator in her 90s outfit. Yes, that basically became the norm for her uniform around the late 1990s. Basically, throughout the last few years of the book, they basically had this. And of course, meeting together. Of course, with doppelgangers this time. And eventually, they basically try to break into the base too. Festa gets involved because Festa's working with Thanos and Adam Warlock. Like Silver wants to get his own man. He gets freed, but then for some reason it's like, yeah, Lisa Slow Pip the Troll, and of course the guy has turned into a statue. And then for some reason we continue this in Silver Surfer 83, Warlock Chronicles number 3, and Infinity Watch number 20, which we have Warlock Chronicles number 3 here, which discussed already in the previous review. And that's it. That's the book in a nutshell. It's a pretty good book. I give it roughly I'm going to give it roughly a 8 out of 10. Yeah, it's by far the weakest of the three trilogy books, but we're not done the book just yet. Next up we have is Rocket Raccoon and Groot Tall Tales. This is a digest book containing their entire 10-issue book. Which all this book kind of was a continuation of the Groot series by Jeff Loveless, despite the fact they switched writers here. Yep, it's 10 issues. Scotty Young does the first 6 issues, and Nick Cratchit does 7 through 10. We have Felipe Andre does issues 1 through 3. 4 is Aaron Cooley. Jason Fugger does issue 5. Brett Bean does issue 6. Michael Walsh is reading 4 issues. The cover art is Scotty Young, first 6 issues, and the remaining 4 is Dave Lopez. Yep. So, and we see in the book the Guardians lineup is Rocket Raccoon, Groot, Flash Thompson Venom, Drax, Kitty Pryde Star-Lord, remember that, The Thing. That was your lineup. And this was the post-Secret Wars lineup. Now, prior to Secret Wars, Bendis had it with the finale of the Black Vortex crossover, which is still really good, by the way. 10 years old, that crossover. Really good. Had the ending where Star-Lord posed to Kitty Pryde to marry him in space, and then at the Secret Wars, it's completely ignored. Yep, completely ignored, and somehow these two broke up off panel. And I'm sure a lot of people were not happy with that at all. It's like, that was where actually Bendis wanted to go in, but Marvel and Eternal, nope, we're not going that way. We're basically ending the relationship right then and there. It's like, yeah, Marvel's like, no, we're not doing that. Get rid of it. Yeah, so a lot of this book for first 6 issues is basically Racoon and Groot just doing their own stuff. We have most of it just Rocket just ruling his own planet. We have just a bunch of stuff. We have Groot show up here with a bunch of markings on him. And yeah, basically I am Groot. Yeah, Rock is like ruling his own planet for a few issues. I could say that this book is a combination of a continuation of Groot and Rocket Raccoon. Both of those two books. That's pretty much in a way what this book is. It's like those two books combined into one. We see a brief appearance in here by Iron Man, Miss Marvel, Spider-Man, Howard the Duck. Yes, and we have Groot going to therapy, which is funny. Yeah, and they just go all over the place here. By the way, this book does feature this is also the last book deal with a crossover, I'll discuss that in a minute. So we have little fun adventures here for the first 6 issues of this book. We're like running just series of adventures for Racoon and Groot, just working together, and the Guardians basically just background characters in their book because it's not their book, it's Racoon and Groot's. They got a planet bus, just shooting involved. It's a lot of fun for the first 6 issues. That's kind of what you can describe the first 6 issues. There's a funny one here. We have Twilight. Yeah, basically poking fun of Twilight in issue 5 of this book. Yeah, halfway through this book. By the way, this book was 10 issues. Can you believe it? 10 freaking issues. And like, yeah, big fun stuff, playing at a bar, really cool stuff here. It's like you can say the first 6 issues are amazing. And then we have issue 7, which was Scott Young leaves the book for all reasons. We have more fun adventure stuff here with this issue, and then the following issues kind of more fun adventures. Well, that's what it was for issues 6 and 7. And then issues 8 through 10 of this book, which guest stars Gwenpool. And it's a Civil War II tie-in. Yep, a Civil War II tie-in. Fun little factoid. The last Civil War II tie-in I have to cover. Because with this, I would have covered the entire crossover. And can you believe this came out 9 years ago? Yes, 9 years ago. So, basically, we have one scene. We have Carol Danvers talking to Puck, Blue Marvel, Maria Hill, Beast, Groot, Rocket, Black Panther, Sasquatch, Monica Rambeau, who's known as Photon, Deathlock, American Chavez, and Medusa. Where you're probably thinking, this is all about, it's basically Rocket's reaction to this whole thing. Him doing what the heck he wants and running into freaking Gwenpool, who had a brief ongoing book, which, by the way, her book had nothing to do with the storyline. They threw her in here because the book was getting canceled, so why not throw in freaking Gwenpool? Which, here's a weird thing related to her. Did you know that her creator based her on an associate editor? I am not kidding about that. Gwenpool is based upon an associate editor. Then we have her fighting Rocket, which of course involves her slicing up his gun with her sword. Which some of you might be asking, has she met Deadpool? Yes! Yes, she has. In issue 4 of her, I think it was issue 4 of her solo book. He's like, oh, you're a fourth wall breaker. That doesn't prevent you from me killing you. That's how the writer wrote Deadpool in frickin' Gwenpool. We have some trucker stuff here. We have Gwenpool just being her face pulled out by Rocket like the wrestling match. And then for some reason we have the parody Empire Strikes Back with issue 9. With Gwenpool riding away in her freaking moped. Yeah. By the way, she lost one of her things in her mask because that's Rocket hit her in the previous issue. And while the Civil War II is going on, Rocket and Groot are dealing with Gwenpool. Yeah, this is what they're doing off panel. And eventually, like, oh, we have another Star Wars reference here because the last issues have to reference Star Wars. Oh, look, a spaceship coming out of the swamp. Just like in Empire Strikes Back, of course. Yeah, and Gwenpool kicks Rocket because she wants to. We have a guy slicing up Groot. And we have this guy look like he gets a chance to kiss the girl he likes. Oh yeah, and also during the fighting, Gwenpool's outfit is almost virtually destroyed. So later on, she puts on a shirt to cover up because she's almost like, if the rest of that top fell off, she'd be completely topless and just exposing her breast. And it leads to the last issue, which is not a Star Wars parody. It's basically Gwenpool pulling a guy by his shirt, Rocket and Groot just firing all cylinders. Yeah. Rocket punches the guy, then, and of course, fires off in the air. And they're stopping with A-Force. And eventually, like, she just asks for Kitty Pryde, like, oh yeah. Then she puts on a shirt to cover herself up. Then we have Rocket, Gwenpool, and Groot share a plane together. Yes, an airplane. And then we have Captain Marvel, basically her sleeve is shredded. Really like about to have some alcohol. Which is weird, the fact that they would have her drink alcohol, given the fact that Carol Danvers is a recovering alcoholic. Yes, why in the world they have her do this, I have no freaking idea. She's about to blast away. Currently her power is gone because it's blocked by this weird device. I think this is Groot, who's talking normally. And it's just a bizarre ending. just ends right there with basically where Groot's got a hole in him. He gets stabbed by Gwenpool, and she wants her sword back. And that is it. If you want to rate this book, the first 7 issues are fantastic. It's a lot of fun stuff here. The Civil War II tie-in feels very forced. Very, very forced. Just like how Gwenpool is. Very forced in this book. For no reason. And with that, basically, I am done with Civil War II. And I did check prior to this. There is nothing left for Civil War II to cover. And I do mean zero. Zip, zilch. There's nothing else left. I have covered everything for Civil War II. It took me a long time, but I have now officially covered everything for Civil War II. That crossover officially all done. No more. No more of the storyline. Okay, so since I've covered the whole thing, let's give some final thoughts on Civil War II. Number 1, this storyline was completely unnecessary. It's by far the only major crossover in Marvel Comics that had zero build-up I have ever come across. The only reason why there's only 2 reasons why this storyline happened in 2016. 1, it was the 10-year anniversary of Civil War 1, and 2 was a promotional tool for Captain America Civil War. The one thing at least got praised the book for is the fact that tie-ins are more consistent than they were in the actual main book, than the original story, which they were somewhat inconsistent. Like, the Racoon book, it doesn't really add anything at all to the main story. If you want to think of like books that actually do add to the story itself, it's mostly put, like, aside from the main book, you could probably throw in Canadian Humans, their issues in there. Probably Iron Man, because he had a few issues of his book tied into it as well. I could say Captain Marvel, but not really, because their book had very little to do with Civil War II at all. It's mostly just Iron Man and Kenny Humans. I can throw those 2 books in there to fill in the gap between issues. Like, as a matter of fact, there's actually an issue of Kenny Humans. If you read the issue, it picks up right where an issue of Civil War II leaves off, where in the book, basically, where the humans are accused of destroying the New Stark Tower, despite the fact that it was caused by Triton. Actually, it was caused by Max was the Mad. Yeah, but that's resolved in a tie-in issue. And I'm like, the tie-ins worked for this one. Yeah, they did. That's basically, like, a lot of the time, Marvel crossover is basically just like a cash grab. Civil War II, it felt as though you read it, it feels like they had sort of a plan for some of the tie-ins. This book, forced. I highly doubt, basically, like, was this book necessary to read to advance the story of Civil War II? No, not really. Choosing Sides, that was just an anthology book. That's basically only if you read that if you're really necessary, if you're a completionist. But if you want to read Racoon Groot, if you like the humor we had that was there for Racoon Volume 2 and Groot, I would check it out. But there's technically one more Groot book left to go, and that's I Am Groot. But, yeah. But in the case of this book, it's done. So, that is pretty much a particular view. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, turn notifications. Next up is movie. Okay, next view. Bye.